powered by AI, whether I'm using any AI apps or I'm just trying to ask ChatGPT questions, it's just become like an extension of my brain. Like I literally have it in my pocket. I've got this amazing access to so many brains and so much content that's been processed by the large language models. So yeah, I think this is really exciting and super excited for this. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, speaking of which, for ChatGPT 4 that I've been using, I tend to like use ChatGPT 4 versus 4.0 for more for like analysis and more advanced tasks that I'm doing. But on 4, there's this little voice recorder here, and I find like not a lot of people use it, but this voice recorder will record and transcribe impeccably. And so a lot of times I actually am using that transcription and with my desktop and refreshing ChatGPT. So I'm on my phone transcribing like what I want to say or what I want to do, and then sort of like pulling off of it on my desktop and implementing it. I just think that's a really interesting nugget that I've been using lately and wanted to share.
Yeah, and for me, I've been using their memory feature. So memory is just this ability to tell ChatGPT that this is something important that you wanted to remember across chats. So it kind of remembers, and then when you bring it up later on in the future, it knows the context, it knows what you want it to do. So just to give you an example, I had been brainstorming a little bit about my business and how we could expand it to different areas. So I just said, okay, I'm going to just have you ask me 10 to 20 questions about how I can expand my business and then retain it in your memory so that I can come back to it because I won't be able to finish it in one session. So it did that. And now every time I go back and I said, so what did we discuss about my business expansion? So it knows exactly what we discussed and it reads it back to me. So I'm using that memory feature pretty actively. So
I love
it's
that.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you actually put it into ChatGPT, it'll say searching memory, and then afterwards you can click memory and decide to add it. At least that's what I've noticed on that memory feature. Is that how you're using it?
Yeah, so I just use the voice enabled chat. So I just say it out and I don't really even need to go to the memory section, but I know it's there and I know it keeps a track of all the different pieces that have
Oh.
been saved away.
So you're
Yeah.
essentially saying add this to memory with your when you transcribe
Yeah.
it. Oh, that's cool. Okay,
Yes.
I did not know
I'm
that.
just saying,
Okay,
yeah, I just say
that's amazing.
add to my memory. Yeah, yeah. Even acronyms and things like, I use the acronym BMM quite a bit. It's broad match modifier. So I've told ChatGPT, anytime I say BMM, I mean this. And so it remembers that. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that we have Gary Young, who's essentially taking notes for this meeting and has a transcript here with Otter AI. Very, very cool. Thank you for using that. That's awesome. Uh, and it looks like Marat wrote, witnessing the breakneck speed of AI is the best nowadays, also scary. Yeah, for sure. Very scary too at the same time
Yeah.
because this train is left the station and it's moving really, really quick. Yeah, well, and I think that's a great segue, which is I think there's those that are really willing to embrace it and those that are going to sort of be left behind during this craze. And I've certainly chosen to be in the first camp, fully embracing it, letting it do its thing, even fully aware, knowing that there's a lot of dangers. And there's, of course, left unchecked could be problematic to society, but I'm just kind of going along for the ride. I feel like there's no stopping it. How about you, Ritu?
Yeah, it's a switch that's been turned on. You can't turn it off. So, might as well join it and enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. So yeah, I'm in your camp, Chad. I'm totally taking advantage of everything that we have access to now.
Yeah, I think I've come to grips with the fact that I think the only privacy you have is within your brain.
You're
And
right.
anything else, anything else out there that you put into the world is sort of public domain at this point.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I totally agree. I mean, I'm sure they're going to find ways to interpret that as well. Like, the other day I was in Japan recently and I was, walking the street and I kind of paused. I didn't even, open up my phone or anything. I just paused in front of a chiropractor shop. Like it was just there. And I looked at it for a second. I said, oh, that's interesting. And then guess what? Like, 30 minutes later, my Instagram is flooded with chiropractor, stuff like all kinds of ads from chiropractors. Now they're obviously doing a lot of GPS tracking, and our phones are aware of us, like whether we know it or not. They know when we sleep, when we wake up, things like that. So even our brains are manifesting through our bodies, and we're doing stuff like we're pausing somewhere, we're walking somewhere. All of that is going to be interpreted. And I think, Ray Kurzweil talked about singularity, and it's coming, right? And his latest prediction is that it's going to be here in less than 5 years. Pessimistically speaking, AGI will be here in less than five years. So, yeah, I think it's just, it's so important right now to know what's happening so that you don't get taken aback by, any kind of surprises that are waiting for you.
And by the way, I think that Ray is coming out with a new book. It's available
Yes.
for pre-order right now, which talks about his future predictions around AI and general intelligence. I highly recommend people check it out. He's been fairly spot on with his previous predictions, and it'll be a great read. I don't think it's come out yet, but it's certainly on my reading list.
Yeah, isn't it what is it? Singularity is nearer or something like that?
Let's
Yeah,
just
that's
do
the
a
name of the
quick.
book.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen. The
Yeah, I think you're right.
singularity. Yeah,
Yeah.
nearer. Yeah, that's so it was
Yeah.
near, but then he just recently brought out this one.
Looks like it did come out
Yeah,
already. Oh, it just came out. Okay, awesome.
it
I'm
just
gonna
came
save
out.
that.
Yeah, isn't that
Very
cool?
good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Mm.
Yeah, so I think in general, right, I don't know if, at least when I talk to a lot of different brands on Amazon specifically, they actually aren't leveraging a lot of the tools. They're not using ChatGPT or Claude, for example, and we'll talk more about those tools later, but I haven't seen them making use or leveraging them, at least the majority. Let's just say 90% of the people that I chat with, and I speak to a lot of clients on a daily basis for prophecy. Are you seeing the same thing? Or are we hanging out in different crowds?
No, you're absolutely right. I think 80 to 90% of people are aware, but they're also overwhelmed and they don't know where to start. That's probably the biggest problem. They're like, okay, I need to use AI, I need to use that. But they end up using it for small, trivial tasks. And if they try to attempt anything big, then they get stuck and then they think, oh, it's not working for me. It's like they kind of have like a false perception of what AI can do or can't do, because AI can get you 80% of the way. You still have to do some work at the end, right? So, if you think that AI is going to do everything, that's not true. But if you can kind of link up different AI apps, you can always kind of build that workflow yourself, and you can get it to be very close to the output that you need. So I would say, this conversation today is probably going to open your minds to a few of those ideas. So, keep listening.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I think let's dive into like the nitty gritty. I think
Yeah.
everyone is aware that there is an arms race, not just on Amazon, I think in general, right? Whether it's Uber, Amazon, Wall Street with hedge funds, all these other companies, Expedia, have embraced AI and predictive LLMs. Yet a lot of, let's just say, small, medium-sized businesses haven't, right? And so now it's been, I think, more democratized and more widely used. And so we're gonna get into that today. Now, a lot of people just think of AI as, hey, this is an LLM, like ChatGPT, for example, where it predicts the next very letter of the next very word that you want to create. That's how it operates. There's a lot of other kind of predicting that happens of looking at patterns with machine learning. I've been raising money at Prophecy, and I recently had a call with a company called Correlation Ventures. They essentially take all these signals of success ratios of different funds, of founders, whether it's a first-time founder or second-time founder or third founder, and what category they're in, and they take all these data points, put them into a model, and it spits out whether or not they're going to be actually investing in that company based
Cool.
on both the founder and the actual lead investor, based on all these different patterns. So I think we have to broaden the context of like the way that we see AI. It's not just, hey, use ChatGPT for language or building better listings, but it's also, in my opinion, going to be used on Amazon for inventory, for PPC, for pricing, anything that can be algorithmically driven. That's where I see this being leveraged.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And this is actually from Thrasio's page for their careers page, I always like to just go and snoop around on different companies' pages and their career pages. And if you look, even though everyone kind of sees that Thrasio definitely, let's just say, broadly speaking, has had some hiccups in their time here as in the Amazon space, certainly they were a trendsetter. But one of the things that I'm seeing, broadly speaking, across most aggregators is that they're moving to leveraging algorithms quicker than like the typical founders or the private label brands that I'm chatting with. And so this is just an example of a senior economist that they were hiring, but you go to their page and you see just like, what is this? This is probably 60% of their job posts are built around data science and analyzing data and understanding data and predictive machine learning modeling. And so they're looking for an edge. And I think this is just super fascinating to me that in my opinion, I believe that sellers won't be data scientists in the future, but they're certainly going to be using data scientists in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, even for people who are, well versed in basics of kind of data analysis and stuff like that, will be able to do a lot better with AI. Just to give you an example from my own background, so I don't identify as a programmer, but I'm doing a lot more programming now because I'm able to ask ChatGPT for code, and I just know that it's kind of right. And I just basically copy and paste and use all kinds of complex programs to generate a lot of the results that I need. So I'm using AppScript for Google Sheets. I'm using SQL for BigQuery and so on. And I don't really need to know all that in detail. I just ask ChatGPT. So you need to just be like a shepherd and just say, okay, do it this way and try to avoid this and that. And you're still able to kind of get to 80 or 90% of the way. And the rest can be fine-tuned by just throwing back any errors and asking ChatGPT to improve if you don't see the results. But yeah, I mean, this is hot. Like all this data science stuff is so hot that it's important for everyone to be aware of.
And there's certainly like no, at least in the Amazon space, there's no shortage of, I think there's like a few things happening, right? There's true AI, right? People that are actually building real AI models and not just embedding into ChatGPT, but there's also certain softwares that are just embedding into ChatGPT to try to come up with results. But here's like a small list that I put together at the onset of those that are actually really trying to invest in AI. So of course you have Prophecy there for Uber style surge pricing for private label brands. You've got Shuli, you've got Data Dive. In all these different categories, I see a lot of this popping up. AI specifically built around Amazon businesses to help the Amazon ecosystem. So feel free to take a screenshot of that. I think there's some really good stuff there. A lot of those companies are doing awesome stuff. And I know Ritu has put together some other interesting apps here. I'd love for you to share them, Ritu.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I use ChatGPT for pretty much everything. Recently started using Claude and found it a little bit better for certain things and not so great for certain others. So yeah, I guess kind of have two windows open at all times, kind of checking both to see results. So I'm a heavy user of ChatGPT plus Google Sheets. And like I mentioned earlier, I've recently started using ChatGPT with BigQuery and creating SQL for BigQuery that helps me create all kinds of data, like all kinds of databases that bring in information from different streams. Like, for example, I can connect my ad data with my organic data, with my keyword rank tracking data, with maybe inventory data, and put that all together and use ChatGPT to be my programmer. So that's kind of where I use it the most. I also use ChatGPT for kind of reverse engineering stuff that's already being created. So if there's any output that I like, I just put that back into ChatGPT and kind of ask it to reverse engineer that for me, whether it's an image or whether it's a style or maybe it's a document or some piece of text. I do the reverse engineering also with ChatGPT. By the way, these QR codes were also generated by ChatGPT. So I just put a URL into ChatGPT and say, create QR code. So I don't need any of those fancy QR code generation softwares anymore. It's like so amazing how you can do all of this in here. Then Canva AI. Oh my goodness, Canva AI is at the cutting edge of AI that's more accessible to normal people. Like we're not, designers or graphic artists and things like that. So we generally don't go for Adobe or Photoshop or any of those high-end softwares, but Canva AI has made creatives so accessible to common people, people who know a little bit of design and can get a great outcome. Midjourney, of course, slightly more advanced, but still quality-wise, it's amazing. I use it for generating images for sponsored brand ads, which is something that I always have to keep asking my clients. Can you give us some assets? And most of them don't have it, and so now we've started creating assets for them. Listify is a free app for listing creation, and there's a QR code for it right there. I don't know who created this. I should. I think if you go onto it, it's probably going to give you credits, but you can embed your keywords, etc. also, and kind of generate a nice listing for free. And then the last one, I just threw it in there because it's something that we created internally for our own purposes. This is Amazon's help files. So we just downloaded thousands of help pages and we put it into this GPT, and you can kind of use it for asking questions, whether they are related to certain specifications or things that are allowed, not allowed, things like that. So
I love
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't even know that you can create QR codes. That's a new one for me. So that's super cool to see.
Yes, 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 yes.
For me, I'm using Claude. I'm using Claude's newest version. I think it's 3.5. I think it's called Sonesta, I want to say. So Claude just came out with a new model. And
Yeah.
I find that it's, first of all, it's so much faster than ChatGPT. And its reasoning abilities and analytical abilities are that much better. That's like what I'm noticing. So I'll give you an example. Just I can put it on the screen here. I thought this was a cool example to share with
Yeah.
people. I think it's super interesting. So we, I'd probably see like we work to make people more money, right? And so you can see here, sort of this profit gap between this year and last year in the blue, right? When we started, and you can see just like the massive profit that we've generated. And if you look over here, just the big gap that you see. So I put this into Claude recently,
Nice.
and I said, you're a data analysis expert with godlike reasoning and profound pricing, data science, technical knowledge. And so I essentially asked it to actually explain to us, and like this is what our customer success team does. And like I don't think normal people like really would think about doing this, but we showed how much more money we made the company, and it's pretty much spot on,
Mm.
which is super cool. And like this is something that our customer success team would do and use Claude to do it. I just think it's one of those tools that not a lot of people are using right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think we like to call it chat with your data. And sometimes, you get weird results like because it tries to hallucinate or whatever. But it looks like you found a good one with Claude. Is that anything like a special add-on or setting that
Uh,
gave you such good results or?
no, I think it's the prompt, and I think it's also, and I'm
Hmm.
happy to share the prompt with you offline.
Yeah.
But I think it's also I'm paying for it, right? I'm paying $20 for 3.5 for the
Okay.
newest version. And I
Nice.
have both up, and I actually have a separate desktop monitor dedicated to just ChatGPT and Claude and toggling between the two. I
Yeah,
haven't had
that's
great
great.
results with 4.0. I feel like it's more for like if I'm like gonna like take a photo selfie of myself and tell me how I can look better or optimize my wardrobe, or and I haven't had great results with connecting ChatGPT with Google Sheets. I find that it limits the outputs from the prompt.
Mm,
Just something
yeah.
But yeah,
Mhm.
let's dive a little more into the mid-journey use case.
Yeah, so the Midjourney use case is, you can actually upload your product image to Midjourney, and it can generate something like this. So the prompt is right there. You just, give it some basic inputs, and then it's able to do a pretty good job, especially version 6.0 does a pretty good job, and you can choose and upscale or create more versions similar to like make more like this kind of thing. So I guess it's such a no-brainer to use Midjourney for generating sponsored brand headline images and testing different types of approaches. We're going to talk a little bit later about the importance of images, and this is your clue to kind of get on with this because your basic images may not cut it anymore because Amazon is going to be able to read images and everything on it a lot better than it have ever has been. Yeah.
I also think that
Um,
it could possibly be that Amazon over time starts knowing what's an AI image and what's a real image, kind of like what
yeah,
Google is doing.
for sure. Yeah.
Google knows what's AI generated. There is
Yeah.
there's a software that'll actually scramble it called
Hmm.
Hits Bypass. First of
Oh,
all, this is super
cool.
cool. So you can see, it's actually this cool software where you can see, it'll tell you, you
Mm,
put text in and it'll tell you if it's AI or not.
that's so
And
cool.
it'll also scramble it to make it so that it could pass. So if anybody's in school listening, right, you can use this for your essays. No, I'm just joking. But I imagine that like Amazon's going to probably be doing something like this, where they're probably going to give some sort of advantage point to those that are
Yeah.
actually sharing like real imagery.
Hmm. Yeah. So I think Shannon had a question. I just want to address that real quick. So Shannon, the Amazon's own AI generation tools, I've tried them as well. The problem I've found with them is that the image proportions are generally off. So the image of your product is super small and then the background is super large. Whereas the way we like to run our ads in PPC Ninja is we like to make the product nice and big, like it's zoomed in, like super zoomed in so that we can try to catch people's attention fast rather than having it be hidden amongst a variety of objects. So I think if you want better control, I would say use one of these two like ChatGPT, sorry, Midjourney or Canva. You can even combine those two. That's what I'm doing a lot. I take stuff from one place, use it as a background, then layer on something else. In Canva, you can actually zoom your product out quite a bit, and then you can just use a nice background from Midjourney.
One other one that you didn't mention that I like, certainly better than ChatGPT for generating images, is I'm gonna like kill myself to say this, Bing Image Creator. I don't like any
Yeah.
Microsoft products, but actually Bing Image
Yeah.
Creator is actually really, really, really slick and really good
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
quick and easy to use. I mean, Midjourney is a little bit more complex, I
Yes.
would say,
It's a
for like
little
more of an
bit
advanced user, but
for
certainly
sure.
I think
Yeah.
if you're gonna just put in a quick prompt, I think
Hmm.
Bing Image Creator is a great place to start.
Right, yeah, and I think Murat has a point. He thinks that stable diffusion is probably even better. I agree. Stable diffusion does require a little bit of a learning curve, and there's a lot of settings, etc. So if you get in the flow with creating images using all these different pieces of software, definitely try out stable diffusion. You might need to download. Murat, correct me if I'm wrong. You probably need to download a version of the software on your desktop in order to process certain things. I might be wrong. I haven't played with it that much. Yeah, and so this, what Chad is showing right now is a use case for creating social posts at scale. So what I did was I created 200 social media posts using one image and ChatGPT to create those kind of messages right there. So this was like campfire mugs. So campfire stories best served with coffee. Where's your happy place? Find it with our mugs. Explore more, sip more. These, I just put my image right into ChatGPT and I said, look at this product and create 200 post headings for this product. And it did it. 200, boom. No, it took like less than a minute. And then I copied all of that and I put it into Canva. Canva has this cool, tool called bulk create, which is very similar to the old concept of mail merge, where you merge, a placeholder with some, text that gets filled in, right? So this is what you can do with Canva. You can just create like an outline and then boom, 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 create like 200 posts at scale. And you will be needing a lot more social media presence in the future. And you'll learn about that later down in this conversation, actually, because Amazon is going to go out and get all those signals and grab them a lot more than they used to in the past. So just be prepared to kind of build a brand presence with social media in the mix. You can't avoid it anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love it. And I was just going to mention, obviously, Prophecy here, where we're running machine learning models, one that predicts demand on Amazon and one that predicts price based on a whole lot of signals that we're pulling in to predict the optimal outcome that you want to achieve. So it might be to maximize your BSR, it might be to maximize unit velocity, but you can actually programmatically do this in our platform. It talks to the model behind the scenes and is constantly changing price to maximize your intention for a specific SKU. So I want to give a shout out to that. So not a lot of people are talking about AI or pricing, especially, I know airlines are talking about it, and certainly Wall Street is run by bots, but there's not a lot happening. And so for us, we built this private label repricer. We also predict the price, but also predict the spend at a different price point to unlock contribution profit dollars in the business. We harmonize those things together with agencies, with PPC Ninja, and with others, brand managers, to unlock more profit that you wouldn't have had otherwise. On top of that, I think it's very, very important, by the way, that not only is it just like price in general or price optimization, I think if there's anything you want to take away from this slide is like giving price a bigger seat at the table. And I listened to a great podcast by Danny Meyer from Shake Shack 2 days or 3 days ago, and he said something super interesting. He said, "We train our employees to ABCD so they can ABCD," and that was always be collecting so they can always be connecting dots. And I think it's very important to connect dots, especially on Amazon, because spend and price impacts PPC. PPC impacts your inventory position, and it all is this flywheel that not a lot of people discuss. So just to give pricing a bigger seat at the table and really discuss it internally, whether it's with your marketing team, with your CFO, or when you're having an all hands in meeting, to have that conversation. So Murat had asked just a quick question, and we'll move on from this, is how do you guys do price optimization? Can you explain it in short, please? So the way we do is we suck in all these signals. We take in all these patterns, historical patterns. You connect your Amazon account, your ads account, and we chew on those patterns. We actually go and find your competition. We bring those into a model, and you put in your min price, your max price, you put in your landed cost, and then you put in your strategy. So you'll say, hey, I want to maximize profit without sacrificing my BSR. And our software will change pricing to match the value of your product with the customer's willingness to pay at the right point in time to automatically make you more money. And we typically see about a 10 to 15% lift on average using Prophecy. And we'll have an offer, I think, coming up right now, actually. On the screen here, I have a 50% offer for those that are listening. If you're a new customer, feel free to scan this QR code. I unfortunately did not create this with ChatGPT. Use the code price kung fu. This is me being creative because there's PPC Ninja on the call. So of course, I got a little ChatGPT help on that one, but price kung fu, 50% discount for an entire year. Scan it, and we guarantee a 3x ROI on the platform, which no other softwares do, which means you put money in and you get more money out. To me, it's like the biggest no-brainer in the space. Cool. So the next segment of our discussion for the state of AI is prompting. So I'm very, very into prompting. And of course, Ritu, I want to hear your perspective on it. I look at prompting as not like going to the spa. It's like going to the gym. Like what you put in is what you're going to get out of it. And one of the things I made sure to do in my prompts is I put in these interesting perspectives that they wouldn't normally have to sort of amplify what the output is going to be. And the more you train a model, right, the more you leave a thread open and train it, and the more you actually add to it, the better that it gets over time. It learns not just memories that cross over between the threads, but like if you just keep using the same thread, let's just say I create a thread around prophecy, and I keep on adding more things to it, it's essentially going to remember everything that's in that as a self-contained space, and will get better over time. What's your take, Ritu?
Yeah, so I've started doing this recently. I create threads and name them so that I remember to go back there. So sometimes I'm just asking a random question. So I have a thread called Scratchpad, which is where I just, it's just random stuff. So it really doesn't need to be, anything that needs to be retained or anything. It's just a Scratchpad. So I go there, I ask general questions, but when it comes to very specific ones like related to images or related to data and so on, I do like to keep them separate. That way I can, bank on the context window to be alive so that I can keep using that context over time. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I also use memory, which is just my way of telling ChatGPT, put this in memory so that I can use it across different threads. And that way I can keep it, very, very true to the question that I'm asking.
Super cool. One of the things I do, just to share an interesting prompt or thread, is I've trained it around my voice. So let's just say I have 50 pieces of email in a PDF. So I'll have my virtual assistant go and find 50 emails that I've written, put them in a PDF, upload them into ChatGPT, and I'll say, please understand the tone, the style, the formatting, the essence, and the flow of my voice. And once you do this, say okay. So now this thread understands my style and tone. So now if I want to write an email that's in the same style and tone to say my accountant, as an example, I can either post in what the accountant writes to me and say, hey, please write back as myself in the same style, tone, formatting, essence, and flow, and vocabulary, whatever. And then it'll put out a great juicy response that I can, of course, tweak a little bit. But the more that I tweak it and put it back into ChatGPT, the better that it gets.
Right. Yeah, I love that. So that's almost like a mini GPT by itself, right? You're just using a thread for that purpose. You're not really having to create like a separate GPT. But even those GPTs are pretty useful. Like I created one for our software. So we kind of uploaded all of our documents and our blogs and things like that into the GPT, and that became like trained in answering questions about our software. So that's kind of cool.
Nice, nice. Now, for prompt creation, there's two kind of interesting things. Of course, I'm almost like an antique collector, but for prompts, and I like to build prompts, make them better, and store them. And so I use Notion to store them, but I would say two resources that I like to use. One is called AI PRM. This is a Chrome extension that essentially is an open source Chrome extension that lets you see other people's prompts that they've created, and you can actually like apply them inside of ChatGPT. But there's a really cool resource that I think not a lot of people know about, which is OpenAI has their own Discord for anyone that's open source, and there's different channels. It's almost like AOL, Instant Messenger, for those that get the reference, with different chat rooms. And so they have a chat room that's dedicated to prompts, and I can actually see other people's prompts in the chat room. It gives me ideas and allows me to actually create a better prompt library for myself. And for those that are listening live, we have a giveaway, which I'll get to in a second, a free giveaway. I just wanted to share this really interesting prompt. This is a prompt to build a prompt. And essentially, you can actually put this into ChatGPT now. If you're listening right now, you're like, oh my God, there's so much. You can take a screenshot of this. You can load it into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to transcribe it off the image, and it'll transcribe it for you. And now you have this prompt in your library that'll help you create really other bomb prompts. And an example of one that I did with that was this. This is our Seller Central support prompt. So internally with my team for my e-commerce business, we have this prompt that we use to create inquiries with Amazon and be very, very specific in the way that Amazon wants to see emails constructed to get the best response. Looks like we just have an awesome. That's what I like to see. If anybody has questions, comments in the chat, drop it in. That's what Ritu and I are here for. Oh yeah, okay. And then lastly, this is a really cool Notion prompt library that I've created just specifically for Amazon. This is like all the prompts I've collected to help us and our team. Some of them are miscellaneous, some are for seller support, some are for videos, some are for titles and bullet points or review mining. But this prompt here, this library is available to you. Here is this QR code that you can scan, and it should email you automatically this ChatGPT Amazon prompt arsenal that we built.
That's so cool. Chad, just a question. Have you been able to find a way to search within your chats?
To search within the chat,
Yeah,
I
so like,
think that there's a Chrome extension that
yeah.
does this, but
Oh, there is?
yes, there
Uh-huh.
is. There's one that actually will like favorite. I'd have to find the name. It's going to escape me right now. But there's a way that you can favorite threads because like if you don't constantly use a thread, it gets lower and lower
Lower and
on the
lower,
left-hand
yeah.
side, which
Yes,
is super
yes.
frustrating. And then
Yes.
there's like the ability to search through threads to find like exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool.
I can
Yeah.
follow up with you offline.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I know there's a way to download all your chats and then, search through them offline, but I'd rather have it, in the live UI. So it's cool that there might be an AI, sort of like a Chrome extension or something that helps. Yeah,
And,
that's cool.
and have you downloaded the ChatGPT desktop version yet or not yet?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You like it, not like it? Is it worth it? Is the berry worth the
Um,
squeeze?
yeah, so far it's been similar. Like I really haven't had any oh, someone has shared
Yep. Yeah, so here
a
is
good
one
one.
Chrome extension that someone shared where you can essentially
Nice.
search.
Oh, cool.
Very, very cool. Thank you for the
Thank you so
lead.
much. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was Sophia. Thank you for
Sophia,
sharing.
thanks. Cool.
But yeah, I haven't done the desktop version yet. I just find it
Yeah.
unless it can work offline, which I think is like the next step. And there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
other language learning models that you can download to your computer, but it slows it down. But
Right.
as things progress, perhaps there's a way that you can work in offline status, so I can be like on the airplane
Yeah.
and access ChatGPT or another LLM. And
Right.
for me, that's when I'm
Yeah.
going to download it to my computer.
Or you could get the new iPhone 15, right?
Yeah, we'll see how
It's
that
gonna come
goes.
with, see how that goes.
So yeah, why don't you talk
Right.
to us a little about Rufus? This is definitely
Yeah.
interesting
Hmm.
perspective that you have here. Would love to hear more.
Yes. So, I guess Rufus, like people know about Rufus, right? And it's not been rolled out to everybody, but a lot of people are seeing Rufus enabled, Amazon interactions. So Rufus is your kind of new personal shopping assistant. So when you're looking for products on the Amazon app, you can actually ask it questions about the product that you're researching, and it might point you in different directions. For example, in this screenshot, it says, is this pickleball paddle good for beginners? And so because Rufus has deep product knowledge, it can scan through everything that's written on the listing, on the images, any comments that it's picked up from Q&A, any bad reviews, etc. It knows all of that about the product, and it can give you some sort of response. And you can ask follow-up questions, like it says, does it come with a case? So these are questions that most people want to know the answers to, but somehow we miss them on our listing. When we are creating our listings, we don't think of what else could a person be asking or needing to know that we could proactively provide them. But with Rufus, I think with Rufus, Rufus is going to do its best at, scanning everything on your listing and giving whatever answers it thinks are best. So if you want to make your listings more optimized for Rufus and for what is to come with Amazon's AI, it's best to kind of proactively look at all the objection points and all of your reviews and negative reviews, especially, and try to kind of proactively provide that information so that it's easier for the AI to kind of work in your favor again rather than against you, right? So that's basically the new kind of Rufus that's being shown there. So maybe we can go to the next slide, which talks a little bit more in depth on what is Rufus. So like I said, it has deep product knowledge. They know everything about your product, right? They can do a great review analysis, summarize, categorize customer reviews, and just figure out what to say to a question like that. They are also great at customer engagement by understanding and then also predicting what the customer might want or might be intending to ask, even though it's not there in the words that they use. They can read between the lines almost, right? And then it can also provide product comparisons. So it knows all the different types of products that could potentially answer the question and, maybe promote those in that session. It can also give personalized recommendations. It can also streamline the search process. So where your shopper goes next might get determined by what Rufus thinks, about the question that they're asking, right? So it may not be the flow that you had imagined. It might lead them to something else, right? And then there's this whole, natural language understanding, like I said, reading between the lines. That's going to happen a lot more. And it's always there for people to go back and ask follow-up questions. So there's like a comprehensive kind of decision-making support system that is not anything similar to the keyword-based approach that we know of so far. Like it's completely different, and it's gonna become more and more accessible and available. Right now, it's just available to a few people that are reporting that sometimes it does weird things, but for the most part, it's doing a pretty good job of understanding your products.
And I just want to say that we're in the early innings of this, right? So it'll just get better over time.
Yes.
And so if it's making mistakes right now or hallucinating, like this is the first iteration. And my perspective is, I think, twofold. One, Amazon has gotten more crowded, right? The ability to actually create a product has gotten easier, which means that you have 10x the amount of products on the platform. But the consumers haven't had the ability to consume 10x in terms of products. In fact,
Right.
actually, people's wallets are actually much even shrunk right now, right? There's less money to go around. So what that means is that there's a lot more spam on the platform. And how Amazon solves that, to me, is with Rufus, because now you can search, and Amazon is going to essentially deliver you the best search result. Of course, until they monetize this and it becomes sponsored ads on Rufus. To me, I think this is a really interesting and elegant solution for Amazon to combat the noise that's on their marketplace right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so I think continuing on to the next slide, I think just want to talk a little bit, and you can skip this one, right? Because I almost covered it. Yeah, so I want to introduce you guys to the brains behind Rufus. So Rufus is what you see on the app, right? The front end of it all. But what's the brains behind Rufus? It is something called Cosmo, and Cosmo is basically, it loosely elaborates onto kind of a large scale e-commerce common sense knowledge generation and serving system at Amazon. So what you see here is snapshots of their white paper that describes Cosmo, and you can all access it if you want. If you're interested in this, you can just go to Amazon Science and you can download this so that you can have a better idea of what's coming, right? Yeah, just let's do Amazon Science and then maybe add Cosmo, and then there's a PDF right there. So you might want to, do Cosmo. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and so then when you say download right there, there's the blue button. Yeah, you get access to the entire thought process behind Cosmo and how Amazon is training their Rufus to basically understand shoppers a lot better, right? There we go.
So Perplexity to me is like the Google killer, and it allows you to actually search a lot of different
Yes.
things. I use the Reddit
Okay.
function, but I just want to see what it delivers here.
Nice. Boom,
Yeah.
that's a value bomb right there. I haven't
Nice.
used Perplexity chat. I should try it. This is
Oh
awesome.
my God, it's all I use now. It's
Oh,
crazy.
that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool. That is so
Okay, yeah, you're
cool.
spot on.
Mm. Yeah, so they're gonna, definitely change the way things are presented. So just to give you some examples, we can go to the next slide, Chad. So I have some examples. Actually, just click a couple of times because I had some animations, but I probably put them in out of order. There we go. Okay, so just to tell you guys how things are going to be different going forward. Let's say you have optimized for the search term sunscreen. I'm sure you've done it for longer tail keywords, but let's say the word is sunscreen, right? Now, depending on who's searching, you might get different results, right? So, for example, if you have someone who has, exhibited signs of being like a camper, a backpacker, hiker, that kind of person who's purchased things like that in the past. Now, Amazon knows everything about that person, right? And so, if that person is saying sunscreen, they're going to interpret that a lot more or in different ways than just literally taking the word sunscreen and showing them like a list of sunscreens, right? This result that comes up is uh, a small pack, an ultra light pack of sunscreen that can be thrown in the backpack because that's what campers do. They want a little bit of sunscreen. They don't want a whole bottle, right? So that's what they're going to be shown. Whereas if you have a mom with 3 kids and she types sunscreen, well, guess what? They're going to get something like a large bottle that the whole family can use and stuff like that. So the same sunscreen, the term sunscreen becomes, different for different people, and the ranking will be different depending on who is searching, which is the biggest change, I would say. So all of our ranking techniques that we've been trained on so far by looking at what competitors have, what we have, what's the gap, what's the opportunity, et cetera, will undergo a lot of change because a lot of sellers might suddenly find that they're no longer ranked because a majority of the sales went to a particular persona who was searching for a certain product and their history dictated that something else shows up, not your product. So how would you prepare for that sort of future? It's coming. So it's good to be prepared for how keyword ranking is going to transform quite a bit. We can go on to the next
Very cool.
page, and this one is another example of how things are going to change. So if someone types shoes for pregnant women, and this is actually an example quoted in Cosmo in that white paper that we were just talking about. The term shoes for pregnant women has, you know, basically Cosmo has been or Rufus or Cosmo have been trained on knowing that when someone types that, they end up buying something like that. Like it's got to be comfortable, it's got to be flat, it's got to be slip resistant, right? And so all those properties, all those attributes of your product become extremely important, right? So all of the backend fields, etc., that describe what this product is become even more important because Amazon is going to use multiple attributes to determine what this person actually wants. She's not just looking for a listing that says shoes for pregnant women. There's going to be no listing like that, right? But a woman who wants something like that, it's up to Amazon to figure out what the right product is. So really, Cosmo is at the leading edge of something like that, and is going to change the way your products are going to be discovered.
So it's
So
essentially it's contextualizing what you're looking for, and I'm assuming it's probably actually pulling in probably from reviews as well.
yes, all of that, and most of it is coming from the shopper behavior as well. Like all of their purchases in the past, all of their searches in the present. They know what they're in market for. They know whether someone is going on a vacation or they're getting married or whatever. Those are telltale signs that you can, pick up from anything that they search for on Amazon. They can put the clues together and build a picture of who these shoppers are and what they actually want, not just what they're typing in the search bar. So the next slide again talks a little bit about Cosmo, how it's going to be personalized product recommendations based on contextual targeting, with dynamic product suggestions, not just the ones you want them to see. There's product association, which is so huge now, because they will be able to build the persona based on product association, product comparison, product categorization, and things like that. So all of that is coming, and it is pretty exciting, but also pretty frightening for a lot of small sellers that I think if they're not prepared, they're going to be like wiped out, if they're not prepared for
Yeah, I mean,
this
there's no question
new
that like
reality.
the game has changed on Amazon. Like a
Yes,
lot,
yes.
these changes really change the software landscape, how people are doing their listings, how people are selling on Amazon. Like for me, I believe that brands are going to have to become an algorithmic brand, and they're going to have to essentially play to the algorithm, both to be found, to be discovered, using PPC, using price, using all these other things. But like there has to be an evolution, or you're gonna not make it through this period.
Right, yeah. So this is a quick one. Recognition is something that Amazon, there's a link right there. I should have QR codified that, but anyway, if you want to just take a screenshot, there we go. You'll have to log into AWS. So this tool, it's a free tool. It's a sandbox where you can upload any image and it'll tell you what's on the image. This is something that Amazon uses internally. It's called recognition. And as you can see on the right, it's telling you what it thinks this product is, right? So it's saying it's a bottle, cosmetics, sunscreen, and shaker. So why shaker? Like, I'm not sure why it interpreted that as shaker. If you go to the next page, Chad, this one says bottle, cosmetics, sunscreen, and first aid. I think the first aid came because the word clinically approved was there in the fine print. So it can read everything on your packaging and everything in the background. So the idea here is to make sure that whatever you put on your packaging and whatever you put on your images needs to be hyper relevant to the audience. Like keep the audience in mind when you put that. If you put random stuff, it's going to start showing random recommendations for your product. Like, things like accessories in the background, they can be distracting. You can actually start removing those. And making your images a little bit more. And you can use this tool to determine what Amazon thinks this product is 99% of the time, 91% of the time. So yeah, it's a cool tool to start prepping.
Very cool. And again, it's just the beginning. I think they'll be able to identify a lot more off the packaging, and it'll get far better over time. I certainly have just redone a lot of my images on my packages to make certain things stand out, to I think better improve the buyer experience, but also to play to a lot of these changes that are happening on the marketplace.
Yep. Yeah, this was just a summary that, we have to kind of move away from just keywords to audiences and understand what your audiences will need. An image is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000. So even the video assets that you put in your listing will be interpreted by Amazon's AI. And, you have an opportunity there to guide it, to kind of train it to know who your target audience is.
Somebody asked if these changes are happening in the European market. Are you aware of that on the marketplace?
It always starts with the US. That's their biggest testing ground, and then they'll slowly roll out, small features as and when they gain confidence. So it will come. It's just a matter of time. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think this is just wrapping up again. From precision targeting to semantic and intent-based targeting. Some of you might have noticed that exact match is no longer working as exact match, and this is because of the changes we've just mentioned. That Amazon wants to expand and say, if someone is looking for sunscreen, what do they really want, right? So there's going to be an expansion at Amazon's end, which is no longer going to be as precise as you would want it to be with exact match and that long tail keyword that you had in mind. So yeah, so wrapping up here, I know Chad needs to has a hard stop here. So if you guys are interested in our PPC managed services and would like us to use AI for your PPC, you can get a 50% discount on your first month. Again, this offer is valid until July 15th. Hit me up. I should have put my email address there, but just reach out to support@ppcninja.com to avail of this offer.
Amazing, Ritu. Thank you for sharing this. And of course, same thing on Prophecy. We're doing 50% off too. If you missed the QR code, just feel free to email me. My personal email is chad@prophecy. That's PROFASEE.com. And you'll get the 50% off. Just put in the subject line price Kung Fu or Kung Fu price. Feel free to hit me up. I'm also always available. And certainly, I want to thank everybody for joining. Thank you, Ritu. Thanks for putting this together. Thanks for spending time with us. We respect your time. We hope that you learned something today. You got a valuable nugget, 2 or 3, that paid for your time here. And certainly, have fun. Keep rocking. I'm rooting for you, and see you later.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Chad. Bye.
Bye, everybody.